Hi everybody, welcome to day 3 of emotional eating. Thank you so much for joining us the first 2 days. In day 1, we really talked about what is emotional eating, how to identify it, and how it can look different on every person. Day 2, we spent a lot of time writing out the feelings that we feel right before we emotionally eat. So today we're going to go a little bit deeper into looking at those feelings. We're going to talk a lot about the purpose of feelings, our beliefs about feelings, and how we can find better, healthier ways of coping other than going to food. So today, I don't think I'm going to give you any new revelation. Maybe I do, and that would be amazing. But I think I'm going to take something you already know and bring it to a new level of understanding. That's my goal for today, because we all know that we have feelings and we all on some level understand the purpose of feelings, but today is just to bring a new level of awareness to you so that we can now consciously change our habits rather than going to food to cover up our emotions or numb them or get rid of them or process through them. Okay, so just so you know, the word emotion actually comes from the word move. Emotions are meant to move us towards action. So if you think about early man, caveman, if a caveman goes outside and sees a tiger, what are the feelings that caveman is going to feel? He's going to feel fear. He's going to feel anxious. His heart rate is going to go up. And that is so that he will trigger a flight or fight response, right? So emotions, feelings are really there to tell us how to behave in certain situations. Let's take happy, for example. When we're happy, our brain is telling us, yes, this is good. Let's do this again. We like this. This is good. So when we go out to coffee with our friends and we feel happy, our reward centers in our brain are telling us, yes, do this again. This is good for us, right? But if we go through something very traumatic and we feel very sad, our brain is trying to signal us, we don't like this, let's try to avoid this in the future. Okay? And so feelings are just feelings. They can't hurt us in any way. We can choose to hurt ourselves, but feelings are just feelings. They really have no power over us. We can choose to overcome them. So that's what we're going to talk through today. And we're going to talk about our beliefs about feelings. So we're going to get into sort of a metacognitive practice where we're going to think about how we think about feelings, all right? So I want you, this is going to get a little, I guess it's going to feel maybe like a therapy session. So if that makes you uncomfortable, I'm sorry. I'm not a therapist, but I am trying to help you understand how you feel and think about emotions. All right, so I'm going to start with myself first, and I'm going to give you a little example from my own life. Please don't post this video anywhere because this is very personal information, first of all. And second of all, I am not saying this to paint my parents in a bad light at all. My parents love me very much. They raised me in a very wonderful, wonderful home. I couldn't have asked for better parents. That being said, children, when we tell a child something, a child does not have reasoning skills to look at that information from different angles and think about it in a specific context. So for example, if you tell a child, no one in our family can make money, that child takes that as truth. They don't understand that you mean, Uncle Billy has a hard time making money and it's kind of cycling now down to his children. That child hears, I'm not good at making money. And they carry that truth with them until, some of them, sadly, for the rest of their lives. Other people carry it with them until they reach a certain age where they think, I really need to see a therapist about this false idea that I have about myself and how I can never make any money. So that's just one example, and I'm going to give you an example from my own life, just so we can do this practice together. And then I want you to pause the video and think about specific instances in your childhood where you were shown how to react or how to deal with emotions. Okay, so just so you're aware, my dad, although I love him very much, he is not a words person at all. He's a man of few words. okay? And I remember one time, I think I was in the 4th grade. I wasn't very old at all, so I couldn't have had like, any major problems. But I came home one day just feeling really sad. Something at school had happened. I had had a bad day. I just felt sad. And I remember sitting in the living room, and my dad came in and said, hey, how are you? And I was being very honest with my dad, and I said, I just had a really bad day. Like, this happened and this happened and this happened. I just had a bad day. And my dad said to me, as I'm sure all parents have said to their kids at one point in time, oh, we all have bad days. Everything's fine, but toughen up. You'll be fine. And I guess I internalized that to mean don't express how you feel because it doesn't matter. And the messaging that I heard was like, my dad doesn't care that I had a bad day. Now, obviously, my dad cared, or he wouldn't have even took the time to tell me, hey, everything will be okay. But I wasn't expecting him to say that. I kind of was expecting him to validate my feelings and hug me and say, I'm so sorry you had a bad day. And instead, my dad took the very stereotypical man approach, which was, oh, well, toughen up, buck up. So I took that in my little child brain to mean, don't talk about feelings. Don't talk about feelings. We don't want to talk about them. It's bad because everyone has bad days. So therefore, we only talk about good days. Okay? This was the messaging that I received that I've had to work through in therapy now as an adult. And there's lots of other examples. That's just one example. But what was I told as a child in an indirect way in my little teeny tiny child brain? Don't express emotions. So that is one reason why I emotionally eat. Everyone's going to have a different childhood, a different upbringing, a different belief about feelings, but our beliefs about feelings shape our behaviors. For example, if we feel like sadness is a bad thing, and if we feel sadness too much, we will become depressed, then we're going to avoid feeling sad, okay? If we feel that if we worry too much, then we're going to get sick, or we're going to ruin our lives by worrying too much. We're going to avoid worrying, okay? So what we're going to do now in this exercise is we're going to write down a few feelings, and I have a list of them, okay? So grab your pen and your journal and write down the following feelings: joy, sadness, fear, anger, shame, anxiety, okay? Next to each emotion, I want you to write a belief that you have about that emotion. For example, joy. For myself, I usually think joy is a very positive thing. It comes from God. If I'm feeling joy, it's pleasing to God. It's pleasing to other people when I am feeling joy. However, when I'm feeling sadness, this is my own brain. I'm not saying this is how you feel about sadness. When I feel sadness, I also feel guilt because I feel like I shouldn't feel sad. I have so much to be thankful for, so I don't have any right to be sad. That's my own thinking about sadness. Okay, so you're going to go through each feeling and you're going to write down a belief that you have about that feeling. Okay, now, next question. How do these beliefs affect me? So if you go back and you look at that list and you don't allow yourself to feel sad because then you also feel guilty, well, that affects you because now you're going to avoid that emotion. Okay? All right. Last question. What alternative ways could I think about each emotion? Because remember, emotions are there to tell us how to act. So it's not that feeling sadness is bad. It's not bad, and it doesn't make me a bad person for feeling sadness. Sadness is there to teach us that something is wrong and something can be changed. That's it. That's what sadness is there for. It's not that we are bad for feeling it, okay? So that brings me to my next step. All right, when we sit with our emotions, which we're gonna practice doing, all right? Today you're gonna practice sitting with your emotions. And here's what I mean by that. As soon as you get a craving when you're not hungry, or you have the urge to overeat, or you have the urge to eat when you're not hungry, I want you to stop. Now, I'm not saying deprive yourself all day long, but promise me that you're gonna not eat for at least 10 minutes. And you're gonna sit and you're gonna wait for an emotion to come, okay? When the emotion arises, I want you to be able to identify and label it with a name. Joy, sadness, anxiety, shame, fear, and I skipped one. Anger, okay? Okay, we need to label our emotions because it separates the emotion from us. So for example, if I say, I feel bad, well, if I say I feel bad, first of all, that's not a clear emotion for me to know what to do with it. And it also makes me feel like I'm bad. I'm bad that I have this bad feeling. So instead of saying I feel bad or I feel good, we're going to begin to label our emotions as specifically and precisely as we can. All right? For example, what is the benefit of saying I feel anxious rather than I feel bad? If I say I feel anxious because I have a test tomorrow, well, the benefit of that is I can now go and study. The anxiety is there to get me to move my behavior towards an end goal. Emotions are really there for our good. So we're not going to label them as bad. We're going to label them with a name that helps us decide what to do with that emotion. Okay? We separate the feelings from ourselves. Okay. Last, I guess, analogy for you. I hope that you're tracking with me, and let me know if you have any questions about this. The reason we need to, and one more reason why we need to label our emotions, it's kind of like if you go to the doctor and you say, I am sick. And the doctor says, what's wrong with you? I don't feel good. And the doctor says, what's wrong with you? I'm sick, right? So the doctor needs to know how to diagnose your illness. So you're either going to tell him, my nose hurts, it's inflamed right here, I can't breathe, my mucus is green, and the doctor's going to say, oh, you have a sinus infection, here's the correct medication. Or you're going to go to the doctor and say, I have a stomach ache, I have a fever, blah, blah, and the doctor's going to say, oh, you have the flu. All right? So that is why we're going to begin to label our emotions. We're going to be okay with sitting and feeling our emotions because, again, our emotions can't hurt us. They're there to help us, all right? And as you begin to process through your emotions, learn to be okay with how you feel about them. And there's one last question that you can ask yourself about this emotion, okay? The last question you're going to ask yourself about the emotion is this feeling productive? If the answer is yes, then you can do something productive, like when you feel anxious, you can study, okay? But if the feeling is unproductive, then you're just going to be okay with feeling it and let it pass, okay? All right, so I hope that you have found this helpful. If you end up doing the interactive assignment, it would be awesome if you could comment your answers below so we can be in this together. I will see you all tomorrow. Have a fabulous day.